Hey guys, first of all, I do apologize if I sound a little like that, if you will. Bit of an allergy cough, if you will. You know how it is at this time of year. You feel fine and everything, but then you start coughing or sneezing a bit, and people wonder, are you okay? And then, they start doing it themselves at times, and it's just allergies. That's mainly what it is. But I wanted to come on here, and first of all, I do apologize if you hear any boom booms. I'm recording this on my phone, and that means, when you have your phone, you're going to get like notification noises or sounds, and that's what the boom booms will be, for text messaging, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And if you hear big boom, that's going to be my bank declining something, but that shouldn't be the case going forward. Hopefully, it shouldn't be the case going forward. Hopefully. Anyway, let's get on to the topic at hand here, shall we? So it's been a while since I've talked about TRO, that's TTRO here on YouTube, and the various series that they work on. The main series that they're working on right now, the main series is Pink Benefits, and they've been doing this for like several years. They are at basically now, from what I'm understanding, they are essentially at part 19. And I think they just wrapped up chapter 11 or chapter 12 of part 19. And this series is really interesting. Now, they've done some other series as well. They even have another kind of an animation-based series going on with The Mission, which is pretty much a take on the T-1000 from Terminator, but in female form. Basically the female T-1000 protagonist, I think that's what she was from the show, and even antagonist, I think, from one of the movies. But anyway, that they're doing that. And they've done some other things as well. They've done Anything You Want, which is a shape-shifting story. And one that they have said they're going to be working on again as a sequel, is Science Experiment. Science Experiment I thought was really fun. And basically, they're going to continue it later on, whenever that might be. I got a feeling it's going to be this year, but right now they're focusing on Pink Benefits. And Pink Benefits, like I said, has been going on for quite some time. It focuses mainly on two female protagonists, Betty and Emily. And basically, both somehow, I got to go back and look at the beginning of how this occurred, both somehow ended up getting these shape-shifting powers that allows them to become anyone or anything they want to be, even I should say, melt into a puddle of goo, if you will, or even go gooey and basically go into somebody else and possess them, if you will, or influence them. Yeah, that's pretty much what these powers do. Now, what's been going on lately is really interesting because at the beginning, both would have fun with their powers with each other. They'd kind of get it on with each other in a big NFSW lesbian way, by using the powers and everything. They would get it on with each other. One of the, each, I would say, at various times they got it on with each other. Each time that, one of them would basically grow or develop kind of shapeshift into existence the male portion at the on the bottom, if you know what I mean, the male portion at the bottom to use on the other. I'm trying to be as clean as I can be, guys. But yeah, basically they would form both, like I say, took the turn doing this when they would get it on with each other. One of them would form, at the various times, the male portion, the male bottom portion, bottom region, if you will, to have fun with. Now, basically, what's interesting, though, is what's been happening as of late. Now, Betty, of course, wants to have fun with her powers, but she also knows she has to use her powers for certain things. And hold on for a second, guys. The guys had to go and move the sprinkler, if you will, outside to water the lawn. But anyway, like I was saying, basically, the recent, chapters, if you will, have been getting really interesting because you could tell that Betty wants to have a little fun with her powers, but she also has to focus on, her spy missions because she's part of this agency that is aware of what she can do. And her boyfriend, who's also part of the agency, even though he likes to have fun with her when it comes to her powers, is more by the book when it comes to these missions. And as we notice in the recent page, she is not too thrilled about that. She's like, come on, let loose a little bit. Let's have a little fun. Or, hey, if you're doing that and it's going to take a few days, can you at least go out and have fun and all that? And her boyfriend is more like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that until we get the information or until the mission is done. Now you might ask yourself, well, she has a point. If them getting all the things they need to go on this mission is going to take a few days, what's the harm of just letting her go out and have some fun? Well, that's a good question. And I think if you look at it from her boyfriend's point of view, basically he knows how she is. He knows that if he allows this to happen, that she'll get so much into the fun she's having that she won't make it back in time, to go on the mission. That's what he's worried about. Also, with the kind of mission it is and who they're going up against, there's that bit of worryship to where he doesn't want, something to happen to her just in case one of their adversaries are going to be, going on a mission against, spying on, if you will, sees her and takes her hostage or finds out what she's about. Basically, he's afraid that that their adversaries could have eyes everywhere, and that there's a good chance, or there I wouldn't say could be a good chance, but there potentially could be a good chance that one of those eyes will see what she does, figure out what's happening, and report back to the boss. So again, if you look at it from his point of view, you can't blame him for not wanting to take that chance. But if you look at it from her point of view, you kind of understand that, look, if you're going to be just sitting here in the hotel room waiting for this information to come in, I'm just going to go out and have some fun. I'm just going to go out and about, have a little fun, do what I got, kill the time, kill some time. And all you have to do is contact me, to let me know things are a go, and I'll be, back before you know it. So you can understand her frustration. You can understand her frustration and everything. And basically all she wanted to do is go see her friend Emily, who also has these powers. Now, again, going back to her boyfriend, again, that kind of ties into him, probably worrying, not that she would get caught, by, or even spied on by maybe somebody with, from who they're going against. But mainly he knows how her and Emily are. And he knows that once they get together, pretty much all sense goes out the window. All sense goes out the window, and they pretty much forget about reality or what's important and only focus on whatever fun or mischief they get into. Now, what's interesting, though, about, Emily, and I want to bring this up. TTRO puts in the description of this latest chapter that Betty is going to focus on the mission, or at least, that's her main priority, to get the mission done and everything, and that it might basically cause her to, contract, basically come in contact with Emily, and basically Emily might have some different plans of her own. Like, as I'm about to describe, Emily in recent chapters has been more adventurous thanks to the influential voice in her head, this alien voice in her head, telling her, hey, you can go beyond just becoming another person and all that. You could do this, you could do that. And in recent chapters over the past year, Emily has really done, just that. You can only imagine that when they do end up meeting together, what she will tell Betty she's been up to, or how Betty will react on how, or how Betty will react on what, Emily's been up to if, certain situations make themselves convenient. But again, getting back to Emily, in recent chapters over the past year, she has been more adventurous than anything. She has. she's been very adventurous. For example, one of her favorite things to do is melt into a puddle of goo. Just become goo and everything and slither around as a puddle on the floor or whatever. But what she's also turned into is interesting. She actually tested out becoming a guy and changed her name to Ethan temporarily. And she ended up getting it on with this pole dancer, this exotic pole dancer. And it was during their intimacy, if you will, that something came over her, and you could, kind of figure it was probably the voice, the alien voice in her head, telling her basically that, hey, go into this woman, take over her body, take over her body. And again, according to what Emily described in her thought bubbles, it's like something came over her, and it's like basically she had to be, she had to legitimately, literally be inside this woman and become, and be part of her, become a part of her and everything. And that's what happened. She ends up possessing this woman, taking over her life temporarily as a pole dancer. And then after that night and everything, and obviously having a little fun, she decides, she decides basically to exit the woman, as a, and basically a, liquid goop, basically as a puddle of goop, which she finds fascinating because she could just remain that way all she wants. But then she decides to reform. She becomes like a faceless drone, faceless drone. Almost had a brain fart there trying to say it. But she becomes a chrome faceless drone, and then she becomes basically herself, but in a different face, figure, whatever. And so she basically goes back to herself, sort of, kind of, a few differences here and there in the face and all that. And then she decides to go and have a little fun over at a clothing store. And you know how you have those little dressing areas in the clothing stores, or, basically places like Walmart, Target, and everything. Well, she decides to, thinking, hey, there's privacy here. It'll allow me, time to, have a little fun and all that. So what does she do, you might ask? Well, what she does in one of the chapters, over the past year, is she decides, or the past few months, I should say, or several months, in the past several months, is she decides, like I said, she goes back to being herself after this little fun she had, and then she decides to basically become somebody else, different look and everything. But then she decides to go in a clothing store, go in a dressing room area, close it, feeling like, hey, I'm going to have some privacy here. And she decides, you know what? I want to try something. This alien voice is telling me I could do anything with these powers, more than I could imagine, And obviously it's been proven that she can, becoming goo, becoming part of somebody, and so on and so forth. So she decides, I wonder what it would be like to be inanimate, be a piece of fabric, a piece of leggings, if you will. And that's literally what she does. She literally allows herself to become a pair of fabric leggings. She basically, like I said, goes in the dressing room, focuses her powers, she becomes a faceless drone again of the fabric kind, silky fabric kind, and then she concentrates as best as she can, and next thing you know, her fingers, elongate, easy for me to say. Her fingers elongate into like some tendrils, if you will. But then they start curling, and then her body starts to curl down a little bit. And basically the end result is she becomes a pair of leggings, on the stool, which she enjoys. And she pretty much feels like, hey, this is so relaxing. This is so cool. I could just rest here all day and drift off. And obviously that was her plan, just to be a pair of leggings, in the dressing room, and just drift off and be the item, just be what she became. But then you have another girl that shows up, thinking she hurt somebody. And looking down, she sees the leggings, and then she decides to try them on. Now, Emily at first is like, this is a little awkward. But then, again, she realizes, wait a minute, this could be a little fun. And so what she does is she decides to see how far her powers can go, and she finds out that just like when she would, go, just like she did when she went into that girl, when she went gooey and basically, became part of that girl by basically flowing into that girl's mouth, if you will, basically, she makes the decision of, okay, if I could do that, I wonder what would happen, if somebody wears me as a piece of clothing, what kind of influence I could have. And she finds out she has a lot of influence. She finds out that she could change, she could basically change her material to be an exact copy of what the girl was wearing previously. Or she could also make it to where she could basically expand the material she became, or basically changed into from what she was. She can expand the material because, again, she decided when the girl wore her that she was going to test things out, and she becomes basically the girl's pants again. But then she starts to extend that version and basically give the girl pretty much a latex catsuit almost, sans or with the exception of the headpiece and all that. But she gives her that, and then she decides to go back to being the girl's regular clothing. Figuring, this is kind of figuring and being excited about, hey, this is pretty good. I could be, any kind of piece of clothing I want to be, and whoever wears me, I can help them become whatever they want to be. And she does just that because this girl then later on goes to this party area, and obviously Emily kind of has a little bit of influence on this girl. But what happens is the girl comes on to this guy who is engaged to this stuck-up girl, whatever her name is. And basically, I can't think of the girl's name that is wearing Emily, as a piece of clothing. But she starts coming on to this guy, and again, obviously it's a bit of the influence that Emily has on her. But it even surprises Emily. But Emily goes along with it because, again, a little unlike Betty, she's more adventurous. She's more about exploring the territory and seeing what she can and cannot do, what her limitations are and are not. So she decides to have a little fun, and basically it gets to the point where this girl decides to take this guy into the room and, get it on with him. And again, the influence starts to come in because basically, as this girl is getting ready to get it on with him, Emily's influence and powers become more prominent because she decides to allow herself to seep in, as the clothing, she allows herself to seep in to, into the guy. She allows herself to seep in to the guy, or not into the guy, but into the girl, excuse me. That'd be crazy if she seeped into the guy, too, that would be kind of weird. But anyway, I'm having a little bit of a brain fart here, guys. You could probably tell. I'm doing the watering the lawn right now, so I'm a little distracted. I do apologize if I got a little lost off track there. I do apologize. But anyway, like I was saying, basically, she ends up influencing this girl a lot. Either to her surprise or not to her surprise, to the point that when this girl kind of starts getting ready to get it on with him, on with the guy that she's seducing, essentially what happens is Emily decides, to self-absorb herself into this girl. Yeah. Instead of, the girl taking her off and everything, because we do find out, I think it's in this chapter, to where when a piece of Emily or a piece of Betty, when they become, let's say, inanimate or gooey, is separated, it feels like they lose a part of themselves and maybe a part of their intelligence or something. But once they get it back, it's like, okay, we're good now. We're good. But anyway, to get to the point, basically Emily allows herself to be self-absorbed into the girl. Basically, the clothing she was melts and absorbs into the girl's skin, and thus she allows her powers to influence the girl, and the girl ends up becoming the guy's fiance wife and everything, because apparently the girl and this guy used to be together, and the guy chose the stuck-up girl over her. So she decides, okay, I'm going to have a little fun. I'm going to have a little fun and basically expose this guy for basically being a jerk, towards me, and maybe potentially being a jerk towards her, even if she's stuck up and everything. So basically, long story short, Emily, like I said, she absorbs into this girl, influences her with her powers, allows her to become the other girl, and this girl, with Emily's help, unbeknownst to her, now shape-shifted into this other girl that he chose her for, as convoluted as it sounds, start getting it on until they are caught. And it's during the moment, if you will, that, Emily allows the girl to change back and everything. And that's the end of that chapter. And basically, we just see the girl now and everything walk away. Now, we don't know if Emily's just going to be like, you know what? I like being part of this girl. I like influencing this girl and everything. I'm going to stay a part of her. I'm just going to stay at a part of her for a while or something. We don't know if that's what her plan is or not. Obviously, it won't be. We know that in the previous time she did something like this with the pole dancer, that she did, leave well enough be. So I've got a feeling that's going to happen as well. But again, you can only imagine when they convene, that being Emily and Betty, what Betty's reaction might be to find out what Emily's been up to and everything, or even how they'll convene. I mean, imagine if Betty does run into this girl, and I guess because of that connection, because I think there is a connection they have with each other, that she'll be able to sense, that Emily is there, and that might surprise the girl. And maybe they might let this girl join up as a part of the group, to where, potentially, she could be like a stand-in for Emily, and Emily could just have her fun and all that and everything, just be whatever she wants, be part of the girl and everything, and Betty could do the same thing. We don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what he's got planned. But like I said, the more recent one focused on Betty and her fiance, husband, whatever, boyfriend, that are part of the spy agency. Part of the spy agency. Easy for me to say. Easy for me to say. That are part of the spy agency, and essentially Betty is getting bored. She understands that, yeah, we got a mission to complete and everything, but I am not one, and this is Betty. She's like, I am not one to want to wait around and, for results that are going to take days. I mean, essentially, she's telling her boyfriend, hey, and this is Betty. She's like, hey, why not I just go out and have fun? Well, you wait for the results and you call me later, like I mentioned earlier. Because again, the way this guy is the way her boyfriend is telling Betty is he's telling her, look, I understand you're bored, but you need to learn patience. It's going to take time, and I don't want to chance anything. That's basically what he's saying to her. He's saying to her, look, I know you're impatient and you want to have fun, but I don't want to chance anything. And Betty's response in turn is, yes, I understand that, but you know me, and you know I will be careful, and you know that if I have to be on a mission, I'll make sure I'm back in time for that mission. So yeah, that's basically what the recent chapter is. But so far, since the beginning, this story has been really, really good. And at times, he's had help from various people writing the script, like Mr. Internet Man, and he's done it in TRO, has done it themselves. And like I said, they've had various, help from people like Mr. Internet Man and others to get the script going, to get it going in a certain direction for certain pages and chapters. Overall, it's been an enjoyable ride. Excuse me. It's been a very enjoyable ride, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. My guess is this. My guess is this, because I know he knows that fans are going to want to see this. He knows fans are going to want to, see this, somehow, some way. He knows fans are going to want to see this, okay? But when he's done things, like he's done it with the Agent Pink series, especially the Belgium's Revenge epilogue. he'll have the girls become goo and everything, and sort of kind of like merge together, not totally fuse. But at the end of one page, but at the end of the last page, I have to say, the epilogue of Bedlam's Revenge of Agent Pink 2, you have them both kind of saying simultaneously in like one voice, "I love being a shapeshifter," and the bubbles kind of, and not thought bubble, but trying to find the word bubble. That's what I'm looking for. The word bubble is colored in different ways to distinguish who is who, but it's like they're saying it in one voice. Like there is a fusion, there is a merger. So to me, I think TTRO realizes fans are going to want that. They're going to want to see Betty and Emily fuse into one. They're going to want to see it. Both have already, in their own separate parts of the story over the past year, have shown that they can merge with other people by possessing them. So imagine what would happen if they decide to become one individual. That to me could be fun as heck, especially if you get them to be intimate with each other. Or maybe, Betty does sneak out, meet up with Emily, find out what Emily's been doing, and then maybe Emily decides to tag along by doing what she did with these other women, and that's basically become part of Betty's clothing and all that and move from there, or whatever the case might be. So, and they could even take turns turning into each other so that, one can have fun while the other is posing as the other and so on and so forth. But again, we'll see what's in store. But I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm looking forward to what, they have planned, for the rest of the story, going forward. I'm looking forward to it. No questions asked. I'm looking forward to it. Because again, I think they do realize fans are going to expect a fusion, a merger between the two into one, and maybe some mischievous escapades, if you will, in between the mission and whenever. They're going to expect stuff. Because when you go down the route that TRO has, TTRO here on YouTube has, with these characters, with the story, fans are going to expect it. They are. And I think they know it. I think they know fans are going to expect that. It's just a matter of when and where they make it happen. It's just a matter of when and where they make it happen. I mean, Joven 16, when they did the Amanda and Nicole story, when they did that, and they showed how far these girls can go in their shape-shifting forms and all that, even into the gooey territory and everything, fans expected eventually for them to fuse, and Joven 16 knew that. So what happens at the end of the recent Amanda and Nicole story? Amanda and Nicole fuse into one and basically become one individual called they don't have a name yet, but I'm just going to call them Amanda-Nicole, because that's basically a combination of both names, Amanda-Nicole. So fans expect that. Desi Arts, when she started doing but the Melting Mii series, and Mii, influenced Zahara and gave her the powers that Zahara unexpectedly gave her to her special SPA-R formula and stuff like that. Basically everybody expected those two to merge, and Desi Arts knew it. And guess what happened? They merged. They became Mara. And when Elizabeth came in, fans expected her, I should say, to merge with them individually and together, and that's what happened. With Elizabeth and Mii, they became Melissa. With Elizabeth and Zahara, I don't know what their name was, but they became one. But all three of them, they became Livy, or Libby, who now is their own individual. In other words, Libby could be her own person if she wants to be, separate from the other three, but they could also be all together, or she could be part of one of them. Well, they're doing whatever they got to do, like they did in the recent chapter, which I will talk about soon. But anyway, fans expect that kind of stuff. And I think TTRO knows this. They know that fans are expecting it to happen. Heck, Lava Story, who recently got the Patreon page back and the Sandra Reverse Patreon page back, so congratulations to them for getting it back. Thank God for that. But Lava Story even knows fans expect fusions. They know that. I mean, in the first story of season 3 of the Emily Sanders series, he basically had Emily and Catherine go out to the middle of nowhere and basically get a lot of frustration out of themselves, but in a very intimate sexual manner that involves shape-shifting and everything, but even involved a bit of merging. Yeah, both of them merged into basically a Titan-sized male genitalia. We'll put it that way. A Titan-sized male genitalia in the middle of the desert. That's what they merged into. But fans are always expecting those two to eventually merge into one woman. Heck, I went onto an AI service and tested it to see if it worked, and it actually worked. You got a decent result. So fans expect that to happen. They do. There is no doubt about that. Fans expect it to happen. So eventually, Lava Story knows, now that he's going to do the Sandraverse, and it's going to be mainly focused on Emily Sanders and those characters, that he's going to have to go that route with them. He's going to have to go the route of merging Emily and Catherine into one, into one woman to see what would happen. And I believe when that happens, you're going to have a lot of kinky fun going on between not just them, but between them and Jacob. Emily's Jacob, that is. Emily and Cat's Jacob, we'll put it that way now. But yeah, you're gonna probably expect a lot of kinky fun out of that. But the point I'm getting at is Lava Story knows fans expect that stuff, and he's building towards it. He's building towards that moment. And I believe TTRO is doing the same thing. He knows fans expect this to happen. He knows fans want it to happen. He knows that. He knows fans want it to occur. He knows that. And I think we're going to get it eventually. I really do. I think we're going to get it. It's going to take time, but we are going to get it. And that is a fact. That is a fact. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to come on here and let you know what's been going on with the Pink Benefits series by TTRO. That's what they're known here on YouTube. Troubletro'S, everywhere else. I wanted to let you guys know, from my experience reading and staying up to date as best I can with the story series, what they've been, what characters have been up to, what's going on currently, and what I feel, what I believe, in my opinion, we're eventually heading towards in the future. I really, those, which I believe, again, we're going to get a fusion. We're going to get a fusion between Emily and Betty. That's coming. But we're also going to get some more gooey, melty fun between them, mostly with Emily. I could see that. So, anyway, again, like I said, I just wanted to come on here, let you know what's happening and everything. And let me know if you've been keeping up with the Pink Benefits series by TTRO, Troubletro'S. What are your thoughts so far on the story? How do you feel about it? Let me know down below in the comment section, as well as during the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, ring the bell for notification, subscribe to the channel. Be greatly appreciated if you did. Also share the video and click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. You can find me at all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates. You can find me at iTunes. You can find me at iHeart. You can find me at Spotify. You can find me at Audible, Overcast, Radio Public, Pandora, and more than likely, if you look real hard, you'll probably find me on SiriusXM. So that's where you can find my podcast, in those various areas and more. You can also follow me at Rumble, at rumble.com at BWRoses, VENMO.com at BWRoses, Odyssey.com at BWRoses-5. You can find me at DeviantArt.com at BVW1979. You can find me at InkBunny.net at BWRoses. You can also find me at Patreon.com at BWRoses. I do have a new video up there talking about adult film star Kira Reed. Check that out if you would like. Also, guys, check me out over, and that's under the $3 and $5 tier. $1 tier tip helps as well. Also, guys, you can support me through Venmo and Cash App if you would like to. Also, guys, you can find me over at x.com, aka Twitter, at BWRoses, TikTok at BWRoses, and Blue Sky BW Roses. I also have a Twitch.tv and Kick.com account as well if you want to look into those. But guys, and also check out the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Had to do some rearranging, remove some items and all that, but pretty much whatever you want to find by clicking on the link, I think you will like. But anyway, though, guys, that's all I can say for now. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this, as well as in the live chat. Again, let me know if you've been keeping up with the series. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later.